It was during the feast of Whitsuntide. Spring was in flower. Trees and grasses were budding green, and the valleys echoed with songs of birds and crickets. It was a time of new beginnings, and a time to seek justice and forgiveness. King Noble looked at all this beauty and sighed, because everything else was not as perfect. He wanted to rid his kingdom of the unhappiness, injustice, and cruelty that afflicted its citizens. Summoning his subjects to the court, he decided to hear their grievances. The king and his council would judge once and for all who should be punished and who should be forgiven. Male and female, feathered, finned, and furred, animals with 2 feet and those with 4. Everyone responded to the royal decree. Only one animal dared to defy the king's order. It was Reynard the fox, whose crafty deeds were already well known throughout the land. Sir Isengrim the wolf was the first to step up before the king to demand justice. He bowed respectfully and said, "Most gracious lord and king, you always hear our complaints and judge them fairly. I beg your lordship to hear me now. That rascal fox, Reynard, long ago, my good friend, has now harmed 3 of my children with his dirty tricks. My desire for justice haunts me day and night." Isengrim was hardly finished with his complaint before Cordius the poodle had joined in. "When the snow was too deep for anyone to hunt last winter," the poodle whined, "I gladly gave to my neighbors all of the food I had stored away for my own needs. I kept only a single sausage to tide me over for goodness knows how long. And would you believe it? My last little scrap of food was stolen out of my cupboard by that sneak Reynard." Before the king could respond, Sir Tybalt the cat pounced up before him and began to wail too about Reynard. This whining and howling was even more loudly interrupted by Bernard the donkey, who brayed, "Let's not waste the court's time. We all know Reynard's deeds are foul. Nothing is sacred to him. The king could die of starvation, the entire realm could waste away, and that fox would not change his ways as long as he had enough to eat. He should be sentenced to death for his misdeeds against the entire kingdom." "Right," snarled Isengrim. "While that wretched fox lives amongst us, there will be no peace for honest, loyal folk like us." One of Reynard's few friends, Greybeard the badger, spoke up for him. "You must be fair, Cordius," he said, "since you stole that very sausage from Tybalt in the first place. And Isengrim, I'm surprised at you. Many here today remember that cold winter day when you and Reynard got together to trick the driver of a wagon load of fish. Reynard was to lie in the road and pretend he was dead. When the driver saw his thick red fur in the road and thought of what a warm winter cap it would make, he stopped quickly and threw the lifeless Reynard into the back of his wagon. The clever fox then slyly tossed the fish out to you on the road, while the driver continued on his way. And as fast as he threw them out to you, Isengrim gobbled them up. When Reynard finally jumped off to collect his share, everything had been eaten except the heads and bones. I hardly call your behavior honorable, Isengrim. Reynard risked his life to share those fish with you." "My king," Greybeard continued on, "for many months now, Reynard has been living a quiet life. He even passes half the day reading books. Water is his only drink, and he eats nothing but vegetables. He gave up meat because he cannot bear the thought of bloodshed. If only he could be here today, we would all believe his innocence." Suddenly a mournful cry shattered the sky. Everyone turned to see Chanticleer the rooster marching into court with his family. Among them they carried the body of Greyleg, Chanticleer's favorite daughter. It was a sad, sad sight, the stately rooster leading the procession, his head bowed, his splendid robe trailing in the dirt, and the whole family crying and clucking behind him. What's still going? Okay, it's still on. Chanticleer stopped before the king and tried 3 times to put his grief into words. But each time he was so overcome he could not speak. Where was I? Chanticleer. Okay. Okay, let me see. Finally, after managing a long, shrill crow, he said, "Hail, sovereign king! Before you lies a victim of that cruel fox Reynard. This poor innocent soul, my beloved daughter, was slain within her convent yard by a despicable reynard disguised in the robes of a holy monk. Save us from him, please, before my entire family shares her fate." In the crowd, Willie the Weasel, who was not the only one there to admire the fox's cleverness, murmured to his neighbors,